when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. Better see with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Sports Report After Dark. I am Seven, adjusting my headphones, and my co-host, Dan The Dick Werner, will be with us momentarily. Really quick, though, I do want to start off by giving a shout-out to our sponsor, Gunslinger Soap. Gunslinger Soap is handmade soap and beard products made without all the junk to pamper your skin. You can go to their website, gunslingersoap.com, and sign up to get 15% off of your first order and always free shipping over $30. That is gunslingersoap.com. Definitely check them out. And, of course, the Dickless Wonder himself, Dan The Dick Werner. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I feel like our show is just edging closer into being a porno. Like we had it. It's after dark, and then it's raw, uncensored sports talk, and now we just now we just run the parental advisory in the corner, and
it's safer that way,
right? And then short, you know,
we say swear words excessively once we get going on this. This is not something to have your kids watching, so if they are still awake, put your fucking headphones in. All right, so let's dive into this. I also, we have a transition that is solely from my idea. Check this out.
That's big
fucking news.
That's big J journalism right there, bud. Are we journalists now?
I don't know, man. I mean, you should be preparing for this. That's why I tell you what we're going to talk about beforehand. Fucking failure.
Well, it's a good thing I fucking know everything already, so that's good.
I mean, that's why you're the dick. ESPN announced this afternoon that Buffalo Bills rookie punter, and I want to make sure I say his name right because I don't know it, Matt Araiza, And 2 other San Diego State football players are accused of gang raping a minor in a lawsuit that was filed in court today. The allegation stems from an event that happened on October 21st of 2021. There was a party at Ariza's house. Allegedly, he and the minor had sexual intercourse, and then he took her inside, and the Ariza and the 2 other accused individuals in the lawsuit, all 3 basically, for lack of a better term, took turns with her. She reported the alleged assault the next day to San Diego police. San Diego police has been investigating it, and just last week turned over their findings to the county prosecutor to review for possible charges. Ariza's attorney has released a statement denying the allegations. Big fucking surprise there. Right. Saying that when they were doing their investigation, they had multiple witnesses that contradicted her story. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this turns out. So rookie punter getting accused of gang rape less than 10 or basically 10 months ago. How does that, how do you think this is going to play out for him?
The attorney was saying that it's just a witch hunt now because he plays in the NFL. But the accusations were made directly after it happened. Obviously this is a terrible thing. I never got the let's all, because obviously what happened is they were all just fucking her at the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is with that? What is with that whole thing? Like, and how is that like?
And honestly, that's my assumption with what happened. And we all saw dumb shit happen in high school. Like, let's be honest here, high school parties and going into college parties, like dumb shit happened. I'm not condoning that it happened. It's just a statement of fact.
Yeah.
And so we have a 17-year-old girl, and the other 2 accused individuals in this lawsuit were freshmen last year, which means they probably knew her. One of them probably knew her from high school or knew friends. Like, there was an association there somewhere. And she wanted to go to a college party, and they said, all right, college football players, let's go. She got drunk. She had sex with Ariza. He thought she was 18, because I guarantee you that's going to be a thing. If there is proof that they had sex, I can guarantee you the very next words out of his attorney's mouth are going to be, he thought she was 18.
Right. Or she told him she was 18.
She told him she was 18. So there's going to be that whole argument. And then they had sex, and then they went inside, and the running a train happened, as it's called socially. I think that's the term that I've heard more times than I can count on the situation.
That's what the kids are saying.
That's what the kids are saying.
Kids
but based on the explanation of the events, this girl was drunk, which means she could not consent to what happened. So if our assumption is right that is what happened, then this is textbook in that sense. Honestly, it really is.
It is. And if she really was, the reports say that she was going in and out. If she's going in and out of consciousness, guys, hey, not okay to have sex with her. I don't know how that's not baseline, like, just knowledge. But
now, and I'm going to speak from experience here, because you and I were both in fraternities when we were in college. Now, obviously, there was that pledge period where they have those kind of talks with all you guys. Now, I'm assuming, because the things that we experienced were pretty standard across the board, across all fraternities. You guys, they had a talk with you at one point that it wasn't just about no means no, it's yes means yes. And if she's drunk, it doesn't matter, it's no. Didn't you guys have the same conversation when you were going through pledge class?
We did. But Tony, I'm also not going to sit here and say that I haven't had sex with a drunk woman before, because I have also been drunk and had sex with a drunk woman before. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, was she going in and out of consciousness? Probably, but so was I. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so at the same time, like, was it consensual? Yes, 100%. But like, that's where it gets real shady, or like real gray, is like, yeah.
And that's the hard thing with this situation is, first, and because there's a lot of questions that have to be asked because a lot of things went wrong for this situation to happen if our speculation is correct. Because obviously, for those of you watching, those of you that listen after, everything right now is speculation because so little information has come out about this case. But what we can suspect is that this was a high school girl that got to a college party where there was already underage people drinking because freshmen in college are underage. Right. Like, unless it's a non-traditional student, if it's an athlete, I guarantee you a freshman in college is under fucking age. There's no question in my mind about that. So
you'd be 18.
They were underage. I mean, you would be 18, but still underage for drinking.
Oh, to drink. Yes.
Okay. So, who thought it was okay for this 17-year-old girl to be invited because she was not ready for what was about to happen?
Right.
And then you have to ask the question that clearly somebody was enabling a bunch of underage individuals to drink. And on top of not just being underage, I have a hard time believing in a situation like this, if it sounds like it was a pretty big party, that she was the only minor there.
Right. Well, Seven, I mean, that happens, obviously. It was an off-campus party.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was an off-campus party. So like, that's actually basically just saying like, no holds bar, everything goes. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to sit here and act like there wasn't people. It was Arizona, right?
No, San Diego State.
Okay. We're not going to sit here and act like San Diego State doesn't have regular parties like that, where there's clearly people that are under the age of 21 drinking at these parties. I mean, that's a majority of the college students, correct? Like that's going to be where most of them are doing. And especially when it's off campus, that's basically just saying like, hey, everybody's there is basically under the age of 21. Like the oldest people there are 22. Like Ariza, right, like was one of the oldest guys there, right?
Had to have been.
He was 22.
Well, so here's the thing that I look at with this, because I don't know if San Diego State is a wet campus or not. It's California, but it's San Diego State. It's doubtful. I would say doubtful. But let's say for the assumption that it is. Even if it's a wet campus, you can't drink on campus unless you're at least 21.
Right.
Organizations that allow underage individuals to consume alcohol at an on-campus party are fucked. Now, if it happens on campus and it was an organizational sanction event, guess what? You're still fucked. That's the way it works, especially whether it's an athletic organization, just a social club, fraternity, sorority, any of it. These rules apply across the board. It's a standard thing at all colleges with social organizations. So off campus means no campus rules. You don't have to have, like most of the, especially bigger schools like this, if you're going to have a party, you have to have security guards.
Right.
That's a pretty common thing, especially bigger schools.
More than likely they're finding some dude's, beach house where they always party at, there's like
and
everybody's
house.
It was okay. So yeah, that's even worse. That's even fucking worse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he knows the way out of the rat trap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, let's corner this, that's what it sounds like, looks like to me. Like, did he know that she was 17? Probably not. But at the very least, he thought she was.
That doesn't make what happened okay.
And if we don't want to go into it for 3 fucking hours, let's not decide the difference between an 18-year-old girl or male and a 17-year-old fucking. What is the difference? Like, literally, when I turned 18, I wasn't like, oh, you know what? I can responsibly have a cigarette now. Like, I wasn't, no fucking way. Like, that was right. I was just 18 now.
There's so much. That's just so much muddy water that requires expertise above our education level.
Right.
But, regardless of, okay, so let's say, for example, he thought that she was 18 and she was not. Okay. Here's the thing. For those of you that are going to argue semantics about this, you need to understand one thing. Most guys are too dumb to ask to see an ID. And a lot of the girls that go to situations like this, typically they have fakes. So it becomes more difficult. And I'm not condoning anybody's behavior, but there's so many hurdles that come up in situations like this. And it's why these investigations take so long. And one of the groups that I'm in, Let's Talk Sports, somebody asked me, like, this was in 2021. We're damn near to 2023. Why is all of this stuff just coming to light? Well, first of all, the Bills claim to have known about the situation prior and had been looking into it themselves and weren't going to have any comment. So if now, of course, there's two different ways that looking into happened, how Cleveland Browns looked into Deshaun Watson, or if they actually looked into it. And, we're not close enough to that situation to know for sure. But when you look at the timeline, it's, go online and start researching rape kit analysis and how far the backlog is. If she reported this to police the next day, it's a high chance that they did a talk screen and a rape kit. Pretty high chance. And those, this isn't fucking CSI where they just take it in and say, hey, run this. And,
and it depends on how they have the answer. The officer was at the time and stuff too, it's all entered in this big ass database, and like whether or not, and Tony, I think the real issue we need to be looking at though is like, okay, I'm actually, if it's just Ariza raising Arizona, what the fuck ever his name is, if it's just him having sex with a 17-year-old girl at a party when he's 22, there's so much fucking gray area muddy water there that I don't think that's the problem. The problem is where the other two dudes come into this and they're apparently just taking turns on her and she's passing out in the middle of it. That's where the actual issue is, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, because if it just goes back and he just says, okay, Matt Araiza had sex with a 17-year-old at a house party in 2021, we're going to be like, okay, well, he didn't fucking, like, obviously, that shit probably happens all the time. She was there. She knowingly was there as a 17-year-old. We'd be like, okay, shit.
And for those of you that may not remember the Kareem Hunt situation, he was in Kansas City postseason. He was in a hotel having party with some of his entourage, and video gets leaked that he kicked this 17-year-old girl. Well, the 17-year-old girl was trying to get access to run around with their group. So now I'm not condoning Kareem Hunt's violent response. They should have had security. He should have had his own security there to keep it from becoming a problem. So it was somebody else that was handling her. But this is exactly what he was trying to avoid, was accusations of shit like this.
Right. She was trying to break down his door too, and like was calling him the N-word, and was screaming at him through the door, and was because he wouldn't let her in. That's what you're supposed to do. Like Kareem Hunt was doing what he was supposed to do, and then if you watch the video, he goes up and gives her a, well, fuck you kind of kick. It's not, if he would have kicked her full in the head or something as hard as he could, I'd have been like, oh fuck, that's fucked up. He literally goes up to her and it's almost like a, man, get the fuck out of here kind of thing. It's almost like just a kind of a shove her off kind of deal. And it's not, right. He's not being malicious about it. If he wanted to hurt that girl, he could have. He could have totally.
And the thing for me is now obviously it's clear. If this girl was that intoxicated as she claims, and this is what we have to go on right now, then he shouldn't have had sex with her. She shouldn't have gone inside the party. And these three idiots certainly should not have thought it was okay to pass this chick around.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And but I'm saying, Tony, would you agree that I think it definitely takes a rapey path. I don't think during the initial, if it's just him and he has sex with her and that's it, I don't think we're talking about this, right? I think that it becomes rapey when she says that she's half conscious and these three dudes are taking turns on her. That's obviously when the problem is. And that's obviously
a very
when
clear problem.
All three of their conscious minds are doing it at the same time. That's three of their drunk brains going, oh yeah, this probably seems okay to do. What part of that is okay to what part is okay to you guys? That doesn't even seem enjoyable for one. Do you know what I'm saying? How are they even enjoying themselves? That's what I'm saying. The whole point of it is
why are they even doing ask about this question here. So have you ever accidentally stumbled on a gangbang video and watching one chick get stabbed by 50 guys? You're like, oh, that sounds like a cool fucking time. Does that seem like fun?
This seems like something that I want to do. Yeah, no, not really. It just seems weird.
And that's the thing. Weird. I'm not going to kink shame. I am gonna kink ask why. You know, we'll go with that for that one. But like for this girl, clearly there's so much of a lapse of judgment in here by these three young men. Now, of course, with saying all this, it is possible that she has fabricated a whole story and nothing ever happened, or maybe it was just that she just had sex with Ariza and the other stuff didn't happen. Maybe because she was drunk, what she remembers, what it seemed like, you know, she was going in and out. Maybe that entire time it was just sex with Ariza. He's an athlete. Those dudes have stamina, especially if they're, you know, he was in season because that was in October.
And maybe the other two are just in the room, which is weird too.
Watching, you know,
but at the same time, I think that's even getting a little rapey. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they're just in the room, I think that's rapey. But
it's
like,
a little weird. Yeah.
But like, it's not near as bad as what she says happened.
Right.
And probably did happen, honestly. I mean,
right. And that's the thing is when you look at the scenario that's painted based on the available information, it seems like they were drunk. Ariza thought she was 18. They had sex. They were too drunk. She agreed to go inside to this party that was inside his house. Passed out on his bed. Round two, you know? And I would even go far as say he may have been, you know, she was out of it. And, you know, she was in and out of consciousness because she was drunk. And he said, hey, why don't you play with all three of us? And she was like, okay, whatever. Because she didn't really understand what was going on. And that's how things progressed.
That's what I think is most likely, Tony. What you hit there at the end is probably okay. So she probably somehow agreed to this, but at the same time, like, the rapey part is that these dudes were like, yeah, totally, she can totally make her own decision. That's where you draw a line at. Like, naturally, you just go, okay, well, obviously this chick doesn't really want to have sex with all three of us, right? And none of them were like, yeah, this chick maybe doesn't want to have sex with all three of us at the same time. That's where it gets rapey. And I understand, like, they're drunk too, and like, people make mistakes, and like, I understand there's a ton of shame. There's a ton of shame on her part involved in all of this. Obviously, the next day, like, do you know what I'm saying? There's a ton of shame. Like I've been ashamed of being at, you know, at college parties. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I had some sex that I didn't want to have with a girl or something at a college party.
I've
you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been ashamed, and like, I can't imagine if that happens, right? Like, that's probably there's a huge amount of shame involved with it. And that's why, and like, but at the same time, like, you have to draw the line as one of those three dudes. That's the whole point. Like, I don't even know where it's like enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? For them to do, like, and I'm not even trying to make it like about them enjoying it. I'm trying to make it like, why are you guys doing that in the first place? It's just weird shit.
There's and my experience is people that end up, you know, people that put themselves into this situation, specifically guys that put themselves into those situations, the guys that I've come into that have been in those situations, it was never just once.
Right.
And so this could be another, I mean, I'm not saying that's the case. Again, this is all speculation. But what if this happens, you know, just like with Deshaun? One comes out and then it's a fucking snowball effect.
Right.
And now the NFL is officially saying that because of the fact that the accusations stem from an event that happened before he was drafted, he is not eligible for discipline under the personal conduct policy. You know? So this would be, if there is any, if any discipline gets handed out towards him outside of any legal repercussions, if he were to face any, be it financial, jail time, whatever, the NFL still isn't going to punish him or fine him. Now, the team might do something, but even that's hard to sell, because if they just appeal it with the union, that it's going to get struck down, because again, since it happened before he was drafted, it doesn't fall under any scope of thing that any kind of contract that he has would give them the ability to punish him.
Let me ask you this, Tony. If it comes out that if we know, and we can never really know, but say hypothetically we know this is the only time this has happened to him. This is the only time this ever happened. All of them were drunk. It was a one-night thing. Everybody made mistakes on every single end of that. Somebody made a mistake. Let's not take that out of. Somebody makes a mistake. It's a one-night thing. Does he deserve to be suspended in the NFL? If we know, and obviously we can't know that, but like if we know that's the only time that happened, and it was just a big, everybody made a mistake one night. That was a night to remember. Nobody wants to remember it. That's it. That's all that happened. Never happened again. They didn't like do the same thing again. Does he deserve to be suspended?
I think suspended, the answer is going to be no, simply because of the fact that it happened before he was there. How are you going to get punished? You know, and that is where I'm going to draw the line.
If you're the commission,
here's the thing: you have to draw the line on some of that stuff. You know, and I can understand now. Of course, accusations made public. Teams drafting players with these accusations should 100% be taking that into consideration when looking at things, because, you know, all these teams talk about the character of a person being something that they look at when they draft them. Well, you know, when accusations like that are known before drafting, a team has a responsibility to consider that. They legitimately do, especially because it's an entertainment industry. And anybody in the entertainment industry is going to be subject to that advanced scrutiny, whether it's music, sports, comedy, movies, whatever. They're all subject to it. We get famous, we're going to be subject to it. The difference is,
God forbid that day.
Right. The difference is going to be, though, he wasn't working there yet, and you can't say that it was known, because punters don't get drafted. You know how hard it is to even get signed as an undrafted rookie as a punter or a kicker, because you're looking at roughly, you know, and some teams will keep an extra like on scout team and stuff like that for just in
it's about
case
50 of them.
But across the NFL, you're looking at a 50 total,
maybe.
And you're getting across the entire college pool, realistically, probably 100 a year for each position of fresh guys that can come in and do this. And most of these guys now, like, if you can't kick 50 yards, you can't even get on a college team anymore.
No, these guys are fucking, like, they are specialists,
right?
Specialists to a T.
And so I think that, hey, what's up, Will? I think that teams have a responsibility to understand the situation in those regards when the accusations are known before the draft. Apparently the Bills knew, and they say they've looked into it. They don't have any further comment. So they're probably siding more with what the information the attorney is saying, in that there's more to the story, basically, than the accusations allege. And as we've discussed, is probably there was.
There's definitely more to the story. There's definitely more to the story, but yeah.
But outside of him having to face any legal recourse, which, if what he's accused of is true, he should have to face every bit of legal recourse possible. Not going to shut that down. But the NFL itself can't do shit.
If they were going to,
outside of like blackballing him, but I don't,
right, that, which is not going to happen. If they had to take every one of those cases, and not just in professional sports, in any, like you said, in any kind of entertainment aspect, anybody who's going to be an entertainer, if you had to take every one of those stories into account, there isn't going to be anybody playing sports or anybody in entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be there is probably so many of, and I don't know if they're to the extreme of what this is, but like, there's going to be some stuff that, you know, there's going to be some stuff, maybe somebody was, maybe he was just at the party and he was very, pushy with her, something like that. Like, there's going to be a story like that for like a lot of these dudes and a lot of just everybody in entertainment.
Nobody's perfect.
Right. But at the same time, like, yes, I completely agree with you. Like, if it's repeated behavior, then yes, absolutely. But like, I'm going to draw the line at if we could actually look back at Rising Arizona's history and and fucking, what the fuck that guy's name is? Yeah, fucking punter. I hope he can corkscrew the fuck out of it. He needs to go play in Jacksonville. They keep 2 punters. Jacksonville they keep a lofty one, and then they keep the guy when they're in their own under their own 15. They can just fucking Aussie style fucking boot the shit out of it. But yeah, no, a Rising Arizona. Like if he's done this more than one time, and it's like a thing where like people are like, oh yeah, well he was kind of rapey. Yes, then fucking get him. Then get him. But like if it's a one-time thing and they were all drunk and nobody really knows what the fuck happened, because I guarantee people who have been there before be like, I don't know what the fuck, like, right? If that's a one-time deal and like the dude was like, fuck man, I probably shouldn't got myself in that situation. I'm honestly not like, obviously if he remembers, like, just if he was active in the triple teaming of said woman, then yes, the guy deserves to what does that even fucking mean, Will? What does that
Up
even
to no good again?
You fucking motherfucker. I'm just kidding. Were you just by the way, were you just hiding under the Geek Gauntlet fucking surname? Jesus, you creepy asshole. You know what? Speaking of, let's move right from Will Rising Arizona to Will Morgan. No. Creepy motherfucker. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, but if he's a repeat offender, obviously this needs to be addressed. But like, dude, the gray area is unbelievably large, and I'm not going to bury this guy under the fucking jail because I'm not.
And that's the thing is at this point, I'm not saying that his actions were okay, or saying that this girl is making a grab for money or anything like that, because I don't see any information that points to that yet. She reported it the next day.
Yeah.
They've been cooperating with investigators. And like I said, there's no way to know, even the season before, that a punter is going to get drafted or signed as an undrafted free agent. Like, there's no way of knowing for sure with those guys. It's so fucking hard. That is difficult. And I don't believe any kind of a claim like that. I think that's a shitty thing to say.
I think that we can establish it definitely happened in the way that she said it did. And it was rapey as fuck, right? But what I'm saying is I'm not going to bury this guy because of this one thing that he might have been rapey in. Like, yes, he needs to seriously reevaluate himself if he was part of that. And I think that he probably was part of that. He needs to seriously reevaluate his actions. And if he feels remorseful about them and it was like a one-time thing, he doesn't remember what the fuck happened, they were all drunk, I'm going to give him a pass, honestly, because I don't know what happened, and all that gray area is just too much. Deshaun Watson, there's no fucking gray area left for that motherfucker. Like, not a one. Even if 20 of these women are just doing it as a money grab, that motherfucker's a rapist. Even if 25 of them, that motherfucker's a rapist. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is sexually assaulting women. Like, clearly. Like, there's something there, right? And like,
and that's the thing.
I don't want to just
there's a clear pattern of behavior there.
Yeah.
And so we have the ability to make more, we have the ability to use more discernment in Deshaun's case. But when we look at the case with Rising Arizona, there is, it's so funny. It really is. There are so many factors, first of all, that are unknown. And second of all, that makes it look like, yes, this was a fucked up situation that should not have happened.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that it's too. I also don't have enough information to think that the guy should be buried, because, again, if all of these guys were drinking and this girl was saying she was 18 and was acting fully consensual, yes, it shouldn't have happened because she was a minor and she was drinking. But guess what? If they didn't know she was a minor and they were all drinking, then none of them were making good decisions. And this is why there are restrictions on drinking ages and stuff like that, because young people with alcohol make dumb fucking decisions. Absolutely. You know how many times I had to sleep off being completely shit-faced drunk when I was in high school, passed out in a fucking cornfield?
Yeah.
or just laying in the back of my truck until I was sober enough to drive home because I got so goddamn shit-faced and wasn't even sure where I was at.
Yeah.
Like, this is why these drinking age laws fucking exist.
Yeah.
And it's not like, and the other thing that makes me think that there was bad decisions all around is it's not like she was kidnapped and brought to the party.
Right.
There's nothing about her not being at the party consensually.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why you're trying to, as a parent or somebody who's trying to guide this young woman, you would want to guide her away from even being in that situation in the first place. And that's not even beginning to say that this is her fault. I'm not saying, but I am saying is like, you can't just like, she can't be there in the first place for real. Like, that's what you're trying to eliminate, is her even like getting into the situation where she could be like, obviously it's not her fault. And obviously like these dudes obviously shouldn't have done that. Quite clearly. But
I'm not condemning her and saying that this is all her fault. She shouldn't be making this suit. If what she's saying happened, she absolutely deserves to have her day in court and to hold these individuals responsible for their actions.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, the reason that these situations come up is because of people making bad decisions. Like I said, based on the number of times that I've come across situations that have a similar theme in high school, chances are she knew one of the freshmen. They got her to the party.
Yeah.
Ariza had first dibs.
Senior.
And then, because he's a
stuff
senior.
Like that. Shit like that.
Hierarchy, that shit exists for some stupid fucking reason.
It's weird.
And then I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. And then they went inside and they were like, hey, can we have a turn? And she was either passed out and they just went at it, or she probably didn't realize what she was saying yes to, and then was in and out of consciousness and she got fucked by 3 dudes, which is still super fucking creepy and weird.
Very.
But how do you prosecute that? Because you can't have, and this is the difficult part with this, and I say this is a victim of sexual assault, but we have to look at this objectively and answer one question. If both sides were drunk, how can we hold them more responsible than her when they did not know that she was a minor?
Right. And
now here's the thing. Here's the other thing that I want to throw out, though. If any of these idiots knew that she was not 18, then that person definitely deserves some jail time, because you threw that poor girl to the fucking lion's den.
She was getting thrown to the lion's den regardless if she was 18 years old or not. And if they knew, do you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think that we can put so much emphasis on the fact that, because like we said, like 18 years, 1 day old, or 17 years, 364 days old. I don't think there's that big of a difference there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't, I think that either way, they need to not be doing that.
Right. But here's the thing that I'll say on that, though, because I get your point about the difference between 17 and 364 and 18 in 1 day. I'll give you that. But think about this. Think about the difference in your state of mind between, we'll say, the end of your junior year and halfway through your senior year. So you're still 17 that entire point, but that's, we'll call it 8 months of time. How much your perspective changes because you know what's coming. Right?
Right. True. Just, okay. I see what you're saying.
And so, I'm not saying that we have to ask the question, well,
it's almost like you're
how many days, but experience, the difference in experience between someone that is 17 years and 1 day old and 17 years and 364 days old is very different.
Almost just like mental preparedness. Like almost like you went, okay, well, I'm going to be put in these situations without somebody telling me what to do at this amount of time. So like you start to mentally prepare yourself for those kind of situations. And if she definitely wasn't, then I see what you're saying. That makes sense. I can see that.
And then you also have to look at because let's talk about this honestly. You know, in our encounters with parties, both good and bad, the girls that were put in these situations that we're talking about, underage girl that lies about her age and goes to an older guy's party. Okay.
Yeah.
How many of these girls are coming from homes where they were properly raised and supported?
I think a lot of them, Tony. I think a lot of them, though. I think obviously it's more not than were, but I think that it's both sides of that coin. I think there are a lot, like my mom was a fantastic mom. Hey, happy birthday, Mom. I love you. She's 60. Hang on, let me do the math. 3 years old today.
There you go.
Happy birthday, Mom. But she was a great mom. Okay, look how I turned out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like not. I mean, she was a great mom. You know, and like, so what can you? You know,
a lot of times, but here's my point, and I'm not saying that that's always the case. But one of the times that I've seen is more often than not, you get into these situations, you have a lot of parents that are trying to fight the rebellion by overcorrecting with strictness. And so instead of getting results, they push the child farther away, or their own behavior has caused the individual, the adolescent, almost adult, to completely reject their position because dad's drinking and doing drugs, mom's, doing whatever, like whatever the case may be. Right. Like the actual adult behavior that should be there at that point isn't there. And so that child has a lack of support and lack of direction for the way it should be properly. And so they overcorrect the complete opposite direction and they lack the mentality to see, hey, it's a good, to be able to understand that it's a bad idea to lie about my age and go to a party with people that are 4 and 5 years older than me because something can happen.
Right. But but when the effort's there, do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have any kids of my own. But like at the same time, like when the effort is there though, isn't that commendable? And because I don't think that there's obviously not a perfect way to parent, right? I mean, there's no actual blueprint.
Here's what I will say is kids are still going to be kids. And at 17, 18, I don't care if you're legally an adult, legally at the age of consent, you're still a fucking kid.
Gray area.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's what it is. You're still a fucking kid at that point mentally. You are not mentally an adult as what should be for an adult. And that's just the truth. Just like you said, there is no difference between someone who is 364 days and 17 years old and 18 years and 1 day old. There's no fucking difference. There is no fucking difference.
Right.
But you do have parents that overcorrect with their behavior.
Sure.
Or have the complete hands-off approach. And the reason why these acting out situations or bad behavior situations, bad decision situations happen is because of the lack of engagement. So there is the full spectrum on that. And then, Of course, you have just some kids are shitheads. And that's what makes it difficult about this. But statistically, more often than not, and I won't just say girls, I will say kids that get themselves into those situations typically did not have the right support at home. And I'm not going to say, it was one end of the spectrum or the other, or that it was bad. It was bad because it wasn't the right support. And I say that to someone that talks ad nauseum about parenting stuff. And I know that.
Right.
There are so many parents that try to parent a child the way that they were parented. And I made this mistake with my own son.
Right.
In my time as a dad. My success with my child in the right decisions and the freedom to have open conversations with my son. My son is 12 years old and knows he can come to me about anything. He knows that he can be struggling with his emotions and he doesn't have to fear violence from me because he knows that I am going to approach the situation.
Violence or scrutiny.
scrutiny, right? I'm going to approach the situation with a calm mind, and we're going to talk about it and break it down. I've helped him start to form that adult thinking process by responding in an adult manner. I don't yell at my child, not because I'm like a soft parent or anything. I don't need to. My son has heard me yell, but I have not raised my voice to my son in years because, or if I do, it's simply saying, hey, to get his attention on me, and then I walk him down.
Right.
But there are so many parents that are trying to parent incorrectly by doing what they've seen or what they think is the right choice.
What they've experienced.
When the reality of it is, the only way to truly get on that level with your child, young adult, whatever, is to literally just talk to them. Why do you think it's okay to do this?
Right.
And getting an understanding and listening to understand, not just to respond and make them feel bad. When my son has been wrong and made bad choices, I don't make him feel stupid. I've never once called my son stupid. I've called him a shithead plenty of times, but I've never called my son stupid because when he makes a mistake, we talk about it. Okay, why did you think that was a good idea? And then I let him explain himself and I ask him questions. I truly want to understand his line of thinking, and that's how I go into it.
Right.
And then next we talk about where the error was. Okay. So at this point, this is where you went wrong. So let's think about it this way. If how you responded was wrong, what are some ways to more appropriately handle things next time? And let him break it down and see what his options were. Because if I yelled, you should have done that, you should have done that, you're not going to accomplish anything.
Or you'll probably just accomplish them not wanting to come to you the next time that they just come wrong. Because it's like, yeah, fuck that.
Exactly. Because they feel shame about being wrong instead of an interest in learning, getting better, getting help so that they don't make this mistake again. And too many parents focus on shame and restriction over understanding. And that's how you get kids. And I'm not saying what this young lady did was that, but more often than not, in my experience, a lot of kids come from homes where it's the opposite ends of the spectrum, either no hands at all, no paying attention. They're going to do what they're going to do and I don't give a fuck. Or overbearing, helicopter restrictive. You're going in, and either way, you are not going to get anywhere because they are not getting any incentive to meet with you because they don't have to go up to your level.
Right.
Kids, young adults, they don't have to go to your level, especially when they're wrong. You just have to walk them up to your level by showing them the steps to get there.
Right.
And
which is incredibly hard to do.
It is incredibly hard to do, and it takes fucking patience. That's why I learned a long time ago. It's that old Christian adage, don't pray for patience. It is so goddamn true, because every time I pray for patience, my son starts talking again, and I'm just fucked. No. But I mean, the truth of the matter is there were so many bad decisions that led to this young girl being put in this situation. And it starts, and yes, it comes back to these three idiots, whether sober or drunk, thinking that running a train on this chick was a good idea.
Yeah.
And it was not.
No.
And fellas, I'm going to tell you, it's not just no means no. It's yes means yes. And if she's drunk, the answer is no.
Shit, Austin Powers even does it. The biggest player in the history of cinema. Do you remember that part? And I think it's the first Austin Powers movie. she's drunk, and he says, no, love, you're drunk. That doesn't have sex with her. It's I can't remember, Felicity Shagwell or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
The very first, remember that? Yeah, and he just doesn't do it. And it's like, whoa, nobody notices that part. Like he's like the biggest player. He has sex with all the and he shags everybody. And he doesn't do it. Just
one of the great things about that movie is, yes, he's a player, but he is so much more progressive than you expect until you actually analyze what he's doing.
Right. Weird. And she's clearly, he hasn't been drinking, and she's clearly intoxicated. That's just that should be a given from the start. And it's very simple stuff, but like,
right.
And unfortunately,
there are so many people that don't think of that, though. And that, I think, is an interesting topic, because they think that, oh, you get drunk, you have sex, because there's that. And I think a lot of it stems from like movies and music where, you go to a bar to pick up somebody. You go to a bar to get laid, right? That's a common practice as old as bars themselves.
Right.
Like really, that's what it is. But don't do that.
Well, that's something I'm glad you kind of touched on that, though, because that's something I wanted to hit on. Like the movies and kind of like the media thing with like dudes who are always just like trying to like just get laid all the time and stuff, and like that's what all of like dudes are like hanging out to do, is like to get laid and stuff. Dude, I honestly was never like obviously dudes like to get laid. I think that women do as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like especially if it's obviously consensual. But like, we'll
go and throw that caveat in there.
That's like the coolest thing to me ever is like consent, bro. like when I get consent, bro, it's that's like the best
consent.
Ever.
That should be our first Sports Report After Dark shirt. Consent. Consent is the bee's knees.
Consent is the fucking bee's knees, man. I'm still all about consent. Like it's like the coolest thing ever. But like that's the goal.
Right. That should always be the goal.
That's the goal for me, but the consent
should only be telling creepy rape jokes to a girl that's already willingly sleeping with you and you've been together for a while. Like
exactly.
Dan and I say creepy shit to our women all the time, but there are women and they know that we're joking and we're not going to rape them, and when they're drunk.
It's just like, I wouldn't be saying it if I was just like gonna be doing all that stuff. I don't think dudes who do that stuff.
I'm not one of those villains that monologue. Yeah.
Right. They're not like, yes, good. Yes, while you're sleeping. Like, no. Those dudes just do it. They don't like talk about it and make fucking hilarious jokes about it. But like that's what I was gonna say though, is like I was never like part of one of those little like covens of dudes who like fucking was like out to like, everybody's like, yeah, man, how many chicks have you slept with this week? Oh, 7? Sweet. Like never. Like it wasn't yeah, sure, if like some guy's like trying to like date some, it was like always like some dude was like trying to date a chick or something, he's like, oh yeah, did you guys have sex? Yeah, we did. It wasn't like, hey, how many did you slay last night? Like, oh, did you go to 2 different bars and 2 different chicks? It's like, I think that is so overblown. I think that's so overblown within, especially how women see it. It's like unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
I think that fuckboys as portrayed in the media, I do think that they exist.
They exist 100%. Don't get me wrong. They exist, but like they're way less common than it's made out to be.
And that's the thing, is like, and the problem is it's just like, the stupid people seem smart because they talk the loudest. The fuckboys seem so common because you always fucking see them. Well, what it is it's the same 5 fuckboys that just don't know how to quit.
Right. And their fucking behavior is so outrageous that like it's just on, it's on the front page of your, your personal report. Like that's like, because you're like, what the fuck is wrong with that dude? And it and you don't see the guy who's just like over there trying to be like, hey, I just kind of want to meet somebody. Like there's a lot of those guys too, just like there is women. You know what I'm saying? Like just like there's women, and I'm sure there's women who make negative fucking portrayals of what is happening as far as that front goes, and it's just they get the most attention because that's like the weird, that's what I'm saying, like that's like the weird media, like I don't know, like in movies and shit, like that's what you always see is like American Pie, like, yeah, dude, trying to get laid. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's actually like, you know.
You mean you didn't have a pact with your 3 closest friends and that one asshole that hangs out with your friends group that you were going to get laid before graduation?
One, we all lost our virginity before graduation. Those guys were fucking losers. Those guys were fucking losers. And you know what? We did it consensually with chicks that we were usually dating. So fuck that movie and fuck those 3 idiots. They're supposed to be like fucking Oz. Like Oz hasn't been laid. I think Oz was lying. Those entire movies. He's like, yeah, man, virginity, you're gonna lose it. He's like, oh fuck. He's like, no, Oz, obviously
that guy was fucking teachers at 12, that big ass fucking ox.
Yes, he looked like he was 25. That motherfucker lost his virginity to his babysitter. Like, he wasn't out there like, oh yeah, guys, like out there playing fucking what the fuck was he playing? Goddamn lacrosse. Like, yeah, lacrosse player. Yeah, fucking yeah. Like, he wasn't. Yeah, he was like, yeah, guys, definitely a loser like you guys and haven't lost my virginity. He was lying. Oz was lying in those.
There's
movies.
No way he had. Yeah,
there's no way Oz wasn't getting laid.
There's no way Oz wasn't getting laid. Now, Jim was the only one that I could realistically see as being a virgin. But I the thing that frustrates me about that movie is there's still that trope. Like, it's a young, Jewish kid turning 18.
And Shipwreck. Shipwreck definitely was the virgin.
Actually, no. Like,
you don't think so?
No.
Smart motherfucker. He was getting laid.
Here's the thing. You don't bang Stifler's mom.
First attempt? No.
There is no way. And as smooth, as confident as he talked to her, he had to have been. He was probably that guy that as a freshman got the chance to fuck a couple of juniors and a couple of seniors because he was a smooth fucking talker.
Absolutely smart.
And he's not one that it's not about volume, it's about quality with Shipwreck.
Sorry to break it to anybody out there, huge American Pie fans, but that movie is bullshit. The whole basis of that movie is bullshit.
What do you mean? A movie is bullshit? No fucking way.
That's kind of hey, bringing it full circle. Kind of what we're trying to say. Like that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I don't think it's like that.
And that's the thing is
not all pieces of shit, ladies. What I'm trying to say.
I stereotypes exist for a reason. Because sometimes they do happen, and but
those dudes exist.
Here's the thing. You want to know, astrology plays off of a lot of stereotypes. You can put up a generalized statement about Gemini.
Talk about bullshit.
And you're gonna see, oh, that's so me. I'm definitely a Gemini. Like that. But if you look, there's so many generalizations about those things, and people cling to them because they are just that, generalizations, and they're easy to identify with.
Tony, if somebody told me my birthday was August 23rd or whatever the fuck this, if I was a Leo or whatever, I'd be like, dude, I'm totally a Leo, bro. Like, there would be like associations that I could make with being a Leo, and I'm not. we're just gonna start talking shit. But like, no, it's like it is kind of like that's. If you get deeper into it and you're like, and there's like very specific things that like that definitely points to, I get it. But like, if somebody told me my birthday was a different date and I just believed that my birthday was like a different day, like, I'm sure there's people who have like thought their birthday was one day and then like learned because they got adopted or something, their birthday is a different day, and thought they were like one sign and been like, oh shit, well, I'm not, I guess. And like,
and then when they learn the new sign, like, oh, well, that makes sense. I'm definitely this and this. And they just latch on to new generalizations, some of which are probably the fucking same from the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
and these things get so exacerbated by media of all kinds. All stereotypes do, whether it's racial stereotypes, astrology, gender, sexual orientation stereotypes. Like, all of these things get perpetuated by the media because it's the lowest common denominator content that's easy to consume. It's the low-hanging fruit of content is anything that's based off of a fucking stereotype. It's just like, it's why shows like reality shows are always a hot topic and have good ratings, because what they have those reality shows do is play to the stereotypes.
Yes. And like it's all about associating yourself with the character, you know, and making similarities to yourself within the character. And like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that you're not like somewhat one of those characters, but at the same time, like, you're your own person, you know. You're not like exactly like them.
And that's the thing that's hard about, you know, because, you know, as we go try to actually bring this back full circle here, we have, you know, these things that these guys are accused of doing. Like, there's so much of a stereotype saying that guys would do that. That is not that fucking common. Yes, it happens, but it's one nasty ass guy and maybe his two dumbass buddies, because there's 3 fucking brain cells between the 4 of them. You know what I mean?
And their behavior is so ridiculous that it's obviously going to get people's attention. So like the guy who's actually, you know, the guys or women plural who are actually like doing it the right way, which is actually most people, I think, honestly, aren't getting headlines in the, you know, in your friend circle. They're not getting headlines for trying to like just be like normal and like
because, well, I mean, even on regardless of the scale, whether it's a group of 5 people or a group of 500 people, danger, failure, and stereotypes. So that's what it goes back to. You know, this, especially on the, you know, with just the Deshaun Watson case, a rookie, you know, because 20 years ago, when the internet wasn't a big deal, a rookie punter getting accused of sexual assault, that's not making the news.
Not one bit. And he's definitely not getting suspended for it. Like,
I mean, and you know, there's so much of a small thing with that. And, you know, but now because of social media, it's so easy to push that and make it bigger that this is, you know, it's all content for the lowest common denominator. Now, again, just to reiterate, we all agree that it sounds like these guys made some questionable decisions. And questionable at best, they were questionable, but more than likely they were just plain fucking disgusting choices.
Right.
Because, you know, but again, if we are going to say that a woman cannot consent to sex because she's drunk, then if these guys were all drunk as well, then they couldn't consent to what was going on either. Yeah. There is no double standard, especially when we look at, chances are they did not know that she was 18. Again, not saying what happened to her was okay. It definitely should not have happened. I say that as a victim of sexual assault. I'm not victim blaming. But what I'm saying is, when we look at it from a true objective standpoint, we cannot hold them to a higher standard just because they are athletes that play at San Diego State. That's not even, what are they, a Big Ten school? They're D2. I don't fucking care.
They're Matt raised in Arizona playing for Pac fucking 24.
Exactly.
But at the basis of it, though, I think that the actual issue, and I think that we both understand what the actual issue is that this can be seen as being based in some sort of sexual dominance, right? Like, it can be like a thing like, okay, well, we're big football players, and like we, you know, like you're going to do this regardless of what, you know, you want to do, because it can be seen as that, obviously. And I think that's the basis of all of it. And like, I'm not going to say it can be seen as that. I'm going to say a lot of times it is that. Right.
There are a lot of those guys that will do that. I'm a big football player. You're going to do what I want. It goes back to the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger and Deshaun Watson, both using your position, using your position,
count it,
to coerce somebody into sexual intercourse is still sexual assault.
Just because we like to just shit all over Ben Roethlisberger every time that we're on here. Go back, like, tell anybody to read. Yeah, like, tell anybody, like, dude, read Dude, they are fucking, I honestly, it's not a pleasant read. Like,
No.
but go back and read the fucking stories about what Ben Roethlisberger did when he was at Miami, Ohio, dude. Like, we're talking like he would have dudes wait outside the door and like not let this chick come out of the room. Like that kind of stuff. Like force her to stay in the room with him until she did what he wanted. Like that kind of stuff. Like that is what we're talking about. And like, that is what this can seem to be based in. But what I'm not going to do is bury this guy for being drunk and doing this. Like, he clearly should have known that is not okay to do. But at the same time, like, if he doesn't do this, if he didn't want to do this or like didn't do this all the time, I can't bury him for it, honestly. And like, that's basically, I think what we were trying to get at is like, we can't just like bury everybody who like makes bad decisions. And like, this was a bad decision by everybody that was there.
There were so many bad decisions that happened for this to happen.
Yes. And like, it was a fucking domino effect of bad shit before this happened. And then it happened. And unfortunately for women, especially now, it's going to be, especially sexual stuff is going to be more shameful, like publicly, and especially when you're like, it is athletes, and this dude plays in the NFL now. It's like, you know, it's unfortunate, really, is what it is. It's just unfortunate.
It really is unfortunate. And the thing of it is there are so many times where people end up in these situations, and it's just, it's not someone said, oh, we're gonna triple team that chick, and then 6 hours later she's in between the three of them. No, that's not. That's not how it happened. I can tell you that's very rarely how that stuff comes to be. It's one small bad decision after another, and all of a sudden they're on a path and they don't realize it. And guess where that path is going?
Yeah.
And so that's why I say that, you know, we can't just look at this. There are so many things that, and I say this as a victim. There are so many things that led to this situation, and you can't, you know, and we also can't have double standards in how we evaluate the actions of this girl versus these boys. Because now, and Ariza, yeah, he's definitely more of an adult, because at 21, 22 years old, there is a clear difference in maturity between an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old.
I think we can agree on that.
And that's one of the things that I have to question.
Oh, for sure.
But if he was, you know, it's a college party, he's completely trashed, his judgment is going to be absolutely fucking horrible. And it's going to be just like, she was too drunk to consent. Guess what? He was too drunk to consent. Yeah. If that's the case, if he was completely drunk, the same rules still apply.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Absolutely. And so it's, I hope that the investigation is thorough, and that if the worst case scenarios that could come out of this have happened, that they do face legal repercussions, because they should. But this does not seem to me like the Deshaun Watson situation or even the Ben Roethlisberger situation. This seems like they were all too drunk and it shouldn't have happened.
Right. And that stuff,
there's a clear
unfortunately,
difference between a one-time thing, just like you said. There's a clear difference between a one-time thing where they were all being fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Than if there's a clear pattern of behavior. Because if it comes out that it's a clear pattern of behavior, throw his ass under the jail.
Bury him.
Bury his ass.
We'll be the first ones to do it. I'll bury him all over this fucking place.
But unless I get more evidence that shows that that's exactly the case, I have a hard time. Again, just like you, I have a hard time burying him.
I can't do it. You know, it's one of those things. You can't, just because of how much gray area is there. Roethlisberger was clearly, I mean, that happened a couple of times, and there's anytime guys here, just let me give you a tip. If you have to put somebody at the door to keep the person you are trying to have sex with from leaving the room, not a great start. Not a great start to your sexual encounter, and probably not a legal start to your sexual encounter. Probably not a human start to your sexual encounter. You should your shit checked. Like you need to have some serious therapy. And you know what? He hit his head on a fucking car really hard a couple of years later, if that makes anybody feel better. Roethlisberger, he broke his fucking face all over the front of some Honda or something that's going the opposite direction. Didn't kill him, which, you know, is unfortunate. Didn't kill him. Clearly did not kill him. He still plays for the Steelers, or did.
He did, yeah.
His face is all fucked up.
And again, I hope that the investigation is thorough and justice gets served. But and this is the difficult part about rape cases, is that too often justice doesn't get served because there's so much gray area. And cops can't, just as much as we wish they could, they can't just go off of raw emotion and okay, this 17-year-old girl said that she was gang raped by 3 guys. Throw them all in jail, throw away the key. It's not how it works. People have rights, and we can't advocate for the stripping of rights for somebody that we don't like and then complain when ours get taken away because somebody doesn't like us. That's not how it works.
Right. And we can't just say that like they even deserve to have, you know, they even deserve to go to jail for this, you know, like obviously
right. you
can have as much moral leeway there as you want to and say that like obviously this shouldn't have happened, so maybe they deserve to go to jail for it. And I'm honestly not gonna disagree with you for that. Like I think that's a jailable offense, okay? But like look back in your own life and go, did I jaywalk that one time? Like that's technically a jailable offense. And I'm not trying to compare jaywalking to this, but what I'm saying is like legally you can't. It's not fucking what's that one Robin Williams movie where like everything's filmed in their heads. They have like the fucking thing that like films their entire life. What is it? The Final Cut. Have you seen that? Great Robin Williams movie. Anyway, these people all have like an implant in their brain that films their entire life. And then Robin Williams' job is to do their funerals. And he goes back and like cuts all of their life data. And it's literally their whole life is just.
I've heard of that movie.
From the inside of their head, dude. It's so good. Check it out. It's so
I'll have
good.
to check that out. That's interesting.
It's very similar to another Robin Williams movie, which also had shit like that in it, where he's the guy that works at the camera developing, or he works at the film.
1 hour photo. That movie was legit.
That movie's awesome. But this is called The Final Cut. And like, yeah, all he does is just like goes through these people's lives, right? And like he gets to see everything they've ever done. And like it's not like that. There's nothing recording. Like we don't know what actually happened. Like if we could actually watch it, nobody would want to. But like these cops can't fucking watch that shit either. They have no idea what happened. Like they just have to take like what happened. They have 4 drunken, or probably way more than that. Obviously, they have many witnesses, but they have all these drunken witness fucking statements. Why don't you just make it a fucking Where's Waldo that's the size of New York City? Because that's basically what you're looking at. Like, how in the fuck are you supposed to make any sense out of that?
And the thing that makes it more difficult is she was drinking, they were drinking. It is very easy to call into question something that a drunk person says or does. And the legal precedent is more often than not, unless there was extreme harm,
right?
Which I can understand the psychological damage of this young girl for of course going through getting gang raped by 3 men.
Way worse than the physical harm they were going to do to her, basically. Right.
Right. But and that's something that's definitely going to be examined, and I hope that they're investigating. But more often than not, unless there is like extreme physical damage, a lot of the times stuff that happens when you're drunk, it's really hard to nail down a charge, because in order for somebody to be found guilty, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And
lots of reasonable doubts in there.
It's, just like with Deshaun Watson not getting charged despite facing 2 different grand juries. Okay. They did not even determine that there was enough to charge him, but based on the information we can tell from, common societal norms, he had predatory behavior. But for actual crime, the burden of proof, if you will, is so different. And court systems have to have money to operate. The judge still has to get paid. jurors still have to be paid for. The amount of time that your prosecuting office is going to be spent investigating this and preparing for trial, are you actually going to get out of that what you should in the form of some kind of punishment? Or is this going to be something where we spend several $100,000 for a trial for somebody that not only gets found not guilty, but should have been guilty in the first place because we didn't have the ability to prove reasonable or to push it be to a point where it's beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So
in a perfect world, this gets seen, this gets all of that, that jury, this gets seen by every different angle, and it's just not a perfect world. Like if anybody hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah. And I genuinely feel bad for somebody having to go through what she's been through.
And Tony, the other thing too is like we kind of touched on it. The only thing that gets me is like she went the next day. So clearly there was something that even when if she was wasted, right? Clearly there was something that really rang in her head that was like, hey, that's really like this was fucked. Right. Well, like, and I'm not saying like the whole thing wasn't fucked in the first place, but I was saying like she was very clearly going, hey, this wasn't correct. I don't care how drunk she was. She was just like, she knew that this wasn't correct. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was not okay.
The amount of courage that it took for her to step up, especially that quick, and say, hey, this wasn't right. Something wrong happened to me. Like that takes a lot. And so I will say to her credit, definitely on that. Kudos for stepping forward as quick as she did, because there's going to be a lot of noise and a lot of criticism about the situation. And some people even trying to say that she lied because, she was at the party drinking. She lied about her age. There are worse things in the world than a 17-year-old saying they're 18 and drinking. And what it is these things that happen like this. Somebody just saying they're 18 instead of 17, having a drink at a party is not the end of the world.
And it's problem, it's not an excuse for somebody to rape you.
But it's also not an excuse for somebody to rape you. And so to blame the victim in that sense is completely fucking asinine, and I'll call you an asshole to your face.
Right.
But but there were a lot of bad decisions that led to this event. And I hope that the legal process can discern if these three guys knew that she was under the age of 18, they weren't really drinking, she was completely shit-faced, and they knew they were taking advantage of her, throw those motherfuckers under the jail.
Yes.
But outside of that, the truth of the matter is it gets so difficult on the legal side to prove things that he may have still done something. They may have still done something wrong. In fact, they probably did. But worst case scenario is you're going to get dirty looks in public for the rest of your life as long as people remember.
I was going to say, I think that there's most definitely, we can probably say from just the report the next day, her being wasted and all, I think even from that, I think we can definitely say that there was something, those guys did something very wrong. It was very wrong. I think that's probably the most, I mean, that's as close as we can get to actually, and that's as close as it's ever going to get to any kind of actual decision.
There was at the very least, there was moral improprieties in place with this situation.
Right.
And I'm not a legal scholar. I'm not a cop. I wasn't there. So I can't judge or condemn or say anything outside of that.
But as an objective, condemn them.
As a person, you can't.
Life.
But as an objective observer, there were some at least morally questionable decisions that were made to led to this event that this girl did not deserve in any way, shape, or form. And so many bad decisions allowed this thing to happen before she got there.
100%.
And I'm not talking, if we are correct and that they thought she was 18, she was at the party willingly and she was drinking willingly. We're going to take those things out because none of those things, I'm also going to, so that there's no question, throw out what she was wearing. That doesn't matter either. None of those things are justifications for thinking it's okay, or are consent to have sex with someone, or for you and two of your friends to have sex with someone. That's That's like a fourth person. That none of those things are reasons in any way, shape, or form.
The only difference is you just don't see many completely sober, completely sweater wearing, completely non-college party gangbangs happening on a regular basis, right? I mean, that's literally that's the difference. Is like that's just more commonly it's going to happen. More commonly it's going to happen.
Apparently, Czechoslovakia.
Those motherfuckers, they're all wasted too. You think they're doing that shit sober? I think that chick's like, yeah, let's just do this all sober. She's not sober either.
No, she's not sober either.
Clearly like, I got to get through this somehow.
We drink to get through a dinner with the in-laws. They drink to get through a Roman orgy. Okay, so let's move on. We've talked for fucking over an hour on this. Aaron Donald decided to do a Myles Garrett impression today. A joint practice between the Bengals and the Rams ended early because multiple fights were breaking out. Video from the practice during the last fight that caused the practice to be ended early showed a big scrum, and in the middle we saw Aaron Donald very clearly, because I don't think anybody else on the Rams is going to be allowed to wear 99, swinging a Bengals helmet at Bengals players.
Clearly ripped a dude's helmet off and was swinging his own helmet at him.
What's even more interesting about this is because joint practices are not technically overseen by the NFL, this is going to be up to the Rams to discipline.
They're not doing anything to him.
They're not going to do anything to him.
That dude's on
Myles Garrett is going to be pissed. Can you imagine?
I actually don't. Myles Garrett did it fucking on national television, bro. This is technically a closed practice. Why do you think they didn't have any like up close video of it? The dude who I saw talking about it was just like knew what happened because he was literally like on the sideline, like on the field. We're taking his word for it. And clearly there's a video of it, but like, I love it. Can you imagine? Like there's a couple of scary things to me, like the world getting hit by an asteroid. Okay. That's really scary to me. Right.
Yeah.
Like a tornado ripping through my home while I'm sleeping is really scary to me. And then number 3 is Aaron Donald, Donkey Kong, swinging a fucking helmet at me. Like that's number 3. Like, can you imagine this motherfucker? Dude, he is a brick shit. He looks like a fucking 6'1" fucking fire hydrant. He looks like a fire hydrant.
Big, just all good, fucking like brick shit house, just fucking built, dude. I would not want to be. I don't care how many pads. I don't care if I also have a helmet on. If Aaron Donald is swinging a helmet at me, I'm going to shit my pants. It's
like actual Donkey Kong. Like he swings the helmet so hard that he falls down. Like he like jumps up in the air and like the force actually takes him to the ground because he's swinging that fucking thing so hard. If he even hits your hand, if you're even trying to like block it from somebody else and it just like nicks your finger, that finger's broken. That finger's broken. Yeah, it's like a special move in the WWE.
Whose bright idea was it to put the two teams that just duked it out in the Super Bowl in a joint practice? That's my fucking question. Who sat there and looked at this and went, hey, this is a great fucking idea?
Sean McDermott is a fucking genius.
He's an asshole.
He's an asshole genius.
He's a genius, but he's an asshole. Like, how do you just like that was where I was like, how the hell do you think, yeah, this seems like a good idea?
Oh, bro, we would, I mean, I remember like we would get, like, I would get testy to the point of like getting ready to throw hands with teammates in practice.
Especially in practice.
And then, but you don't do it.
You're exhausted.
But you're just
so emotionally drained because you've been yelled at for 2 hours by coaches and running all
the
that
same fucking 47 sweep 12 fucking times because some fat guy can't pull correctly. Like there's like Lyle Collins was the guy that he got into it with, and Lyle Collins is a fucking beast. Lyle Collins is a beast, dude. Lyle Collins is like 6'4", 330.
He's
just
huge.
Runs.
Too,
he's gigantic. Like they're just all beasts, dude. And all they do every single play, guys. If you don't know what football is. These dudes literally play on the fucking line. So all they do the whole time is hit each other and smack each other in the face and fucking sweat all over each other and breathe on each other and fucking get mad.
And here's the thing. There is a reason that when they go to the line, The only player that you can hear is the quarterback. You notice how they never put that little radar gun where you can get the sound and see what's going on down that line between the offense and the defense before the play starts? You want to know why nobody ever hears that? Because it's something that would get 99% of those players canceled.
Well, because sometimes, most of the time, they aren't saying anything like pre-snap because they're just wanting to kill somebody. Like when they get silent because they're just going. They're going nasty.
It's just cooking.
It's just seeing white and just red and just whatever color you want to call it. They want to kill one another every single play. And when they go at it, they're fucking. And then after the play, they don't mic the after the play. Sometimes they do, and it's hilarious because you're gonna hear at least three things, and they have a goddamn 3-second delay on that thing, so you didn't hear the first 3 seconds of it, and they'll only hear "fuck that" at the end. It's like, oh boy, that's a lot going on down there. But yeah, they're just he was just crazy. He was just seeing red. That's it. I mean, you don't get by in the NFL without doing that. This is big boy league.
I mean, and that's the thing is you have to be that amped up, whether it's just at practice or you're on the field. Like, that's just the way it is, because that's what it takes to be a pro football player. You have to be a savage. Your body, every time you get hit as an NFL player, regardless of the position, it's like you're going through a car accident, especially for these wide receivers, running backs, and stuff like that. Guys on kick returns. That's why they changed the rules on kick returns, because that was where the most common injuries happened, because the hits were so hard. That's why because if you've been a fan of football for a long time, up until I think it was about 4 years ago, the players started 5 yards back from where the ball was, and when the kicker got to them, they started running so that when the kicker caught the ball, they were already at a running start.
Yeah,
so that they could get down the field faster. One of the ways that they reduce injuries is those players don't get that running start anymore.
Stationary,
but
it's still a fucking nightmare.
It's still a fucking car accident every play for them.
Those guys still have 40 yards. Do you think it takes any of these guys 40 yards to get to full speed? No, they're getting to full speed and slowing down and speeding back up. They're still getting to full speed, and you're going the other direction.
Aaron Donald, Lyle Collins, when they're in peak shape, which they're going to be right now as we're getting ready to go into the start of the season, those guys are running, despite their size, sub 540s.
100%. I bet Aaron Donald runs a 4.7.
I would say 4.7, 4.8. Lyle Collins is probably high 4.8, maybe 4.9.
He's probably Lyle Collins probably is in the fives. He's probably like a 5.3, 5.4 guy, but still at 330 pounds. Do you know how fast that is, guys? Like neither me nor Tony right now are running a 5.4 40. We're not doing it. No. We're running a 5. We're running a high fives, and that's if we're warmed up. That's if we're warmed up and a little drunk, so that we're fucking legging out the last 10 meters because we don't give a shit. Like these dudes are going at it. They're going at it, and imagine taking all the passion that you feel for your job. Like if you love your job a lot, which I do.
Yeah.
Take all of that passion that you're going to spend 60 years or so, if you live, me 35 max, on your job, which is what, hang on, do the math. It's like 18 or so left. If you're gonna take all of that passion that you feel for your job over 60 years for most people and pack it into about 6 or 7 years, and that's what you get in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's giving you a second too. That's saying that you're kind of good at your job. Mm-hmm. Because 6 or 7, what's the average? The average NFL shelf life is like a year and a half.
Yeah, so
most guys don't play for over 2 years. Yeah, most guys don't play for over 2 years. So you're taking all of that passion, everything that you basically were meant to do in your life, and trying to pack it into every single day. Like when you're packing those memos at your job, imagine packing those memos 100 times that every single time that you do it. Anything that you do is just way more intense, and you're doing it physically, which most people don't do. Right. They're not doing their job. Obviously, people have physical jobs, but they don't do it versus somebody.
Right.
Male guys don't go out and they're not hey, the other male guy over there, he's gonna bucket beat your route today. Like nobody has a USPS like opposition. Like there's not like fucking like double down the heads like, hey, who's gonna get the mail to the fucking boxes faster? Like it's not happening. Like that shit isn't real.
They're union guys, they don't give a fuck.
Right. Like you're not like nobody's like beating anybody else like nobody's like head to head. Like nobody's going head to head fucking accounting. Like, hey, who can figure out this guy's payroll faster? Like, it's not happening. So, like, this is very intense. It's just very intense. Who can
figure out this guy's payroll faster?
Hey, he's got a couple of overtimes. Better get to it. Like, no, it's not like that's not. It's intense. I'm sure your job is intense, guys. I'm not intensifying your job, but what I am saying, this is a little bit like just packed in. You know, they don't have much time in their job, and they know that. So like they're very, very intense about it because they have to be. There's not any other way to do it. And Aaron Donald happens to be one of the ones who is the most successful at his particular ever. Like he might like literally people have dubbed him the greatest defensive player of all time, which I don't know if I'm even. That conversation is for a whole different day. But like he's up there. Let's just say that he's up there.
He's up there.
The guy is 5'11" and weighs 300 pounds. And I've seen him in a shirt, and he's not a fat dude. So let's just like, who's the last 5'11", 300-pound guy that you saw who wasn't just a fucking ridiculous slob, honestly? And I don't, anybody who's 300 pounds and 5'11", not saying you're a slob, you might have a six pack, but you're not. But Aaron Donald is just a brick shit house. Like, and he is swinging a fucking helmet at you. He took your helmet off. He took your head protection off, and he's going to swing your head protection at your head. The thing that's supposed to be protecting your head, he's now swinging as hard as he can. It's terrifying. Fucking terrifying. Tornado, meteor, Aaron Donald swinging my own helmet at me. It's up there. When I first saw that video, I was like, wow, Collins, you're a brave man. And you know, Collins was like, well, Lyle Collins doing it like, let me at him. Like, let me at him thing. He was like, yeah, I don't want to actually.
I don't want any of that smoke.
He seems very angry. I don't want to actually. He's going to throw a barrel at me next. Where's barrels at? Can somebody throw a barrel at him, see if he can jump over it? And then, I got a shot here. But yeah, it's terrifying. Like that scares the fucking shit out of me, dude. Even putting your finger in front of that thing. I hope nobody got hit with it. I don't think anybody does. I think he whipped.
I think he kind of whipped it, and those who did it was on the helmet, kind of a glancing thing is the way it looked if it made any contact. I don't think it did, but the angle in which he was moving, the fact that he was falling down too, I think if he made any contact, like it wasn't of consequence. But
it comes out tomorrow that like 3 players from the Bengals are like in concussion protocol. They got clipped with his swipe through,
which. It's not okay to have a concussion because a player got violent. I'm not condoning it, but I mean, yeah, it's possible.
But hey, guys, they get concussions every single game. Just if nobody's privy to that information, there are concussions in every single NFL game that never get reported and will never get reported because guess what? Like I just talked about, if you miss a couple of games with a concussion, you might not ever play in the NFL again. And these guys fucking know that, dude. Like, it's just that simple. They know that if they're out, then they might not get another shot. And honestly, if I get fucking dinged and I see stars for a second and I think that I might have a concussion and I'm like on the cut for an NFL roster, I'm not saying a goddamn thing unless I vomit on the field and I'm like spinning around and I try and call timeout when I'm on defense or something. Like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep going. And if they don't figure out that I have
like that, most of those players, they're not even going to say a word. They're just going to keep playing because
fucking thing.
Whilst, I mean, it's again, you're right. It's their career and their livelihood on the line. They're trying to get that generational wealth. And we see these contracts reported, everybody's like, but it's not the common thing. Like that generational wealth that we see some of these bigger guys like Aaron Donald get, like Patrick Mahomes got, Matt Stafford got, all of these guys, that generational wealth. Like, that's not the common occurrence.
Dudes like DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys scrapped for like 7-8 years, dude. Like he was on their practice squad and like worked his way up, and he just worked and finally got a deal. And it's like, this guy was getting the shit beat out of him for not enough money, guys. Like, I don't care if you think $750,000 a year is a lot of money. That ain't not enough for what he was doing. Go ahead and try what DeMarcus Lawrence was doing for a while and be like, you know what? Not worth it. You'd be like, nope, not worth $750,000 a year. And I think a lot of people are probably going, well, I don't know. There's not a whole lot that's not worth it. The shit he was doing ain't worth fucking $750,000. I'm telling you right now.
There's so many people that don't have an understanding of what goes into being a professional athlete, the preparing, the working out. Like, a lot of these guys during the week outside of the actual practice, they're also doing 2 or 3 hour workouts on their own, because that's what it takes to be at that elite level. You're not just going to practice for 8 hours a day, 4 days a week, and then playing a game on Sunday. No, you're doing 8 hours of practice 4 days a week. You're watching film for 10 to 15 hours a week at home, unless you're Kyler Murray. You are going through and doing personal workouts of 2 to 3 hours a day, even on what are supposed to be days off. Like, unless you're injured, you have a workout plan that was designed by your team that you're doing individually. And if you're one of those that's lucky enough to have that big money, you might have a personal trainer that you do your workouts with. But most of those guys are putting in 50 to 60 hours a week, just like all of us working fucks. But they are not just working out. They are unlocking physical potential that the average person does not have.
My job at Olive Garden sucked. For real. I did. I was like, this job sucks. I was like, nope, not coming. Like, I understand they get paid a lot more money, but fuck, man. No. My Olive Garden job was awesome. Like, I was like, in perspective.
I loved doing food service. I legitimately did. It was a lot of fun.
It's okay until you get it to management. It's okay until you start managing. And then it was like, but when I was doing it, there wasn't now they have the fucking, you can't work more than 45 hours a week or whatever. And it's like, you have to get paid overtime. When I was managing, dude, there was none of that. Like, it was salary. Right. I was straight salary, and it wasn't a great salary. And it was however long they want to work you. Like, they just basically fill all the rest of their hours that they don't pay hourly employees with you. That's what they were doing at that time. Yeah. And like, it was terrible, but like, still not as bad as what being on a practice squad. I'd rather be managing an Olive Garden.
I had a friend that was managing. I had a friend that was a manager at Cheddar's, and he was one of the managers that actually did his job. And so, of course, they exploited that. And the dude worked 60 hours a week. No.
Oh. Yeah.
Short white guy.
Doing the same thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yep.
Worked his ass off. And
I'm sure Mike Black will have a shout out. Mike Black, hey, buddy.
Cheddar's
underappreciates you. Cheddar's underappreciated you, bro.
They did underappreciate you.
They appreciated the fuck out of you, man. Hey, they have a line. They have a line still from when Mike Black hired me. Well, and I feel kind of bad about this, and I talked to him about it afterwards. But he didn't really hire me. He didn't really hire me. Other dude did. Their GM, but like, they have a line there that's, "Hey, I gotta go get some tomatoes," and it's literally like they're faking like they're gonna leave because I worked there for fucking like 2 hours, dude, in the kitchen. And I was like, nope. And some dude was like, some dude was like, "Hey man, go grab like 4 tomatoes." And I went and got there. I was like, "Yeah, I'll go get them." And I just walked out the back door, just walked straight out the back door and quit. Like, in the middle of this, I was training. I was like, "No, fuck this, I'm out." And like, I wasn't hurting anybody. Like, they were just training me. I was kind of just in the way, but like, I was like, "No, I ain't fucking doing this shit, dude." And so they have a line now at Cheddar's that's, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some tomatoes," and you're gonna quit.
I wondered where that came from because I remember hearing that a few times.
Did you? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get some tomatoes. I was like, it just means you're gonna quit.
But like at Cheddar's, like, if it would have been, I mean, and even working back in the kitchen, like, the money wasn't bad for the area, wasn't going to be life changing.
They start pretty high hourly.
I was just a full-time dishwasher and I made $10 an hour. And now this
dishwashing
was
would have been awesome.
Honestly, dude, I loved it. I put my headphones in and I just fucking work. I put my head down and worked. Like it was great.
They falsely assumed I was a good line cook from like my managerial experience. They were like, "Yeah, you can totally cook the line here," and I was like, "Dude, that's not what I did, bro. I was out front where like I just kind of like suck people's wieners all day. Like I'm good at sucking wieners out front. That's what I'm here for. Okay, so I don't need to be back."
I liked serving. It was great because it was very fast paced.
I'd have been fine doing that.
But like, because I was a regular white guy as a server, I didn't make shit for tips.
Right? Yeah, they were like,
no, there was literally one night I had to yell at that manager that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because when you started out as a server at Cheddar's, they gave you that kind of that middle section that's there with all of the two tops in it, and you got like 3 tables in that section for your shift. And so yeah, I had 3 tables, but they were both 2 tops. And so I'd finish a 6-hour shift with $50.
Yeah. And
it's like, look, that's not enough money, man. I got a family to take care of.
And then they make you tip out, like some of that's going to your hosts and your bussers and stuff too. So
I'm if I make $50 in tips, chances are I'm leaving with 40 because I have to tip out the host, I have to tip out the bartender.
Tony, I'm glad we hit this subject because clearly a lot of our listeners are definitely restaurant workers.
Dude, okay, so here's the thing. Actually, our numbers have stayed consistent the whole time. It's great. Thank you for those of you that are watching us. But like,
somebody's actually watching. I'm just kidding.
No, but like for me, it's one of those things where it's like you're right though. Get back to the Aerodontal thing. You're right. Like that job is so intense that you don't understand how intense it is until you're in that shit, and then you're like, I don't want to be here.
I just got done across the street. 54th Street's fucking busy as fuck, dude. And I was like, oh yeah, I could totally do this. And I was like, nope, can't do this. I'm gonna go get some tomatoes. Yep, tomatoes. Got it. On it.
And then the other thing we wanted to talk about before we wrap up tonight is there was a couple of big injuries. Tyrone Smith from the Cowboys and Chet Holmgren, second pick in the first round of the NBA draft this year, both out for the season. Ty Smith, I believe it was an ACL, wasn't it?
It was some kind of, it was a knee. Like it was a non-contact knee, which is not.
And then Holmgren was something to do with his foot, wasn't it?
He has the Liz Frank.
That's right. I called it a Lisa Frank injury earlier.
Lisa Frank. I thought that joke was hilarious.
I thought it was great.
I was like, you were gonna make a good joke there, and I didn't get the last part. I was like, I get where you were going with it, though. I was like, that's hilarious that he's like, you're basically trying to say like he shouldn't be dealing with chicks when he's got his NBA. Yeah,
no, stationary. No, because Lisa Frank was the stationary. Remember when we were in like elementary school, middle school, had all like the colorful shit for the chicks would wear, like for the
oh my God
notebooks and shit. Now you remember Lisa Frank?
Yes, yeah. So like you're trying to make a joke about how he wasn't dealing. Like, why is he dealing with like school supplies when he should be like concentrating on his NBA career? Like, I got the whole thing. I thought you were gonna make a joke about like why is he dealing with all these chicks like Lisa Frank? Like, does he get Lisa Frank surgery? Like,
yes, Lisa Frank is a person. But no, I was talking about the stationary.
I know what you mean. I get it now. I made the connection. I got where the joke was going. Liz Frank's apparently just like a muscle in your foot, and Chet Holmgren's, he's 7'2", so his is like 18 inches long. So like somewhere in the middle of there, it got stretched or whatever.
Do the math, ladies. No, the.
I mean, at least. I bet it's about big around.
It's got to be.
The Liz Frank is
that right? Well, I was talking about it with somebody online earlier, and I feel bad for nobody ever. I never want to see an athlete get a season-ending injury, especially right before the season starts. Like, that's just shitty. But for him, because he's going to be down for a little while, he has the ability to do something that we've discussed a little bit here. We've talked about this. He needs to put on like at least 20 pounds of muscle. And this time that he's going to spend without mobility, Chet has the ability to put on some weight that he can put on some muscle here so that this kid has the ability to actually be in the shit more, because as he sits right now, his physicality, he's not an NBA. He's not ready for the NBA.
Chet, Liz Frank does not keep you from doing bench press. Like,
no, it does not.
A bench pressless injury. Like you can do curls and shoulder presses and get bigger I don't blame the guy. He stretched out from he was 5'11" his sophomore year in high school or something like that, dude. Not a joke.
And he only played college basketball for
1 year.
2 years, wasn't it? Was it just 1 year? 1 year.
It was one and done at Gonzaga.
That's a lot of growing, man.
The FIBA 18 and under MVP, dude. The guy's got skills. Watch his highlight videos. He's got absolute skills. It's just he looks like a 5'11" guy who got stretched into a 7'2" body. It's not realistic.
And you have to, and the thing of it is so many of these guys that grow like that, they're really just gentle giants. They're big guys, but they're just, they're a lot more happy and jovial, and they're not very aggressive at heart. When you're a big in the NBA, especially a 7-footer, you've got to be aggressive. And he does, and he has talent, but he does not, a lot of people have compared him, have tried to talk about comparing him to KD. KD at his age was a better shooter. So it compensated for the lack of physical size.
Yeah, KD, dude, bro, KD averaged 23 and 12 at Texas.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's not even an accurate comparison.
I've never liked the comparison of KD and Chet Holmgren.
He's more an accurate comparison to Dirk Nowitzki, honestly.
And I could see that.
When Dirk came in, I hate even doing that. I love Dirk, but I don't.
Honestly, it's not a bad comparison though.
But Kobe Bryant has a fucking really, really fun quote when Dirk was a rookie. Kobe Bryant, he said that kid's gonna get eat. He said that kid, guys in this league are gonna eat that dude because he's not aggressive, he's not strong, and Kobe came out later, 5 years later, and was like, "Whoa, I was fucking wrong." He's like, that dude's a dog, and so. It's completely different, but
it's just
he was getting Kobe busted up.
Go ahead. Yeah,
no, Dirk was getting fucking thrown around, and he knew that physically he couldn't play, and that's that Euro style. Chet has a Euro style to him. That's all it is. He's like an American Euro style player, and he's 7'2", and he weighs he weighed 191 pounds at the combine. I'm gonna say that 7'2", 191 pounds.
That's why he's got to put on at least 20 pounds of muscle. I would like to see 30 or 40, but he needs to put on at least 20 pounds of muscle. And I hope that this season with downtime, he's able to do that without a bunch of distractions so that next year he can actually be what a number 2 pick should be, physicality and talent wise. Because I think he can get there. A year off to work on that, a lot of potential, a lot of good that can come out of that if he does it right.
And you can't use your legs. You know what I'm saying? You need to get bigger upper body, and Dirk weighed 240 in the end of his career. So 7 foot 240, still skinny. They're obviously
right. He's not fat or anything even now.
You're not gonna be a fat 7-footer unless you're Shaq or Robert Traylor. It doesn't happen. It's not.
No.
Yao was getting there. Yao was eating a couple too many egg rolls there at the end of it. He was kind of getting a little.
He was starting to put it on. I remember that. He had a little. He was building his own little rice cooker right there. He was getting there.
He got that American food in him, dude. He was over there all in good shape and shit, and he came over here and he was like, "What? What is this barbecue shit?" He was like, "This barbecue Houston shit. What the fuck is this?" And he was just eating that shit all the time. He looked like a big. He was like a rectangle.
Because he played for the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that's a lot of Texas barbecue that you can get whenever you want.
Bro, he's a Hall of Famer.
And you mean a popular basketball player that Texans can embrace that's not a black guy. Yeah, he got all the free barbecue he wanted.
God, they were just free barbecue for life. They saw him fucking hit a jumper one time. They were like, "What? This guy is 7'5", and he wasn't even. And Yao's not even a good comparison because Yao weighed 300 pounds before he was even in the
right. But that's the thing is Yao had muscle. KD has muscle. He's a scrawnier guy, but KD's still what, 220, 225?
It's like sinewy. KD,
he's
very like sinewy. He's like 215, 220. Yeah.
He's very lean, but he has more muscle to his frame.
And he's got an attitude to him. He's got an attitude too. And
Chet does not have that attitude. He is like, I mean, especially if you look at interviews with him, he is a softer guy. And I'm not saying that in any kind of a disrespectful manner, but when he steps on the court, he needs to be able to hang.
We don't know that yet, though. We don't know that yet because Dirk's a very agreeable dude, like off the court, but dog. When he gets on it, dog.
But look, if you watch the footage of Holmgren, there are multiple times over the last, we'll say, year, because I haven't seen anything from his high school days, so I can't say. But in big moments in college. And in the early G League stuff that he was in before he fucked up his foot, he came up. He was supposed to be the big, but he ended up coming up small in some bigger moments that he was in, where he should have been the one to make shit happen.
Give him a break, Tony. He's 19 years old.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
these things exist, and like I'm not the only one that's noticed it. Skip and Shannon talked for half an hour.
They did
the day before Holmgren was drafted about him coming up short and him needing to put on weight and get more physical with his game so that he doesn't come up small in big situations. What I'm saying is he has the opportunity in this. I mean, hell, if Zion Williams can put on 45 pounds when he's out for an entire season,
it's a little different.
I think that Chet can get himself 20, 25 pounds of muscle. And I'm not saying, and I want it to be healthy because I want it to be sustainable, and he can kind of build as he gets a little older because he's going to naturally some. But if you can get 15 to 20 pounds of muscle on in this year and just keep building muscle, by the time he hits his true prime in like 23, 24, 25, he's going to be he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, but that's why, I mean, that's the gamble of the NBA draft, though. Obviously, the guy is a lottery pick and a high lottery pick because you either get KD and Dirk, or on the downside, you get Kristaps Porzingis.
Fair.
And I'm not even saying I like Kristaps. Like I collect Kristaps Porzingis' cards. I think honestly he's. Kristaps is 7'3", Chet Holmgren is 7'2". I mean, they have a very similar skill set. Kristaps still bigger. Kristaps Porzingis weighs 230 pounds. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy who is as slender as Chet Holmgren is.
And that's honestly, that's the thing that concerns me.
That's great. And you know what took Yao out too? I mean, you know why Yao had to retire? His feet.
That's a hard thing for bigger guys.
Yeah, and like if you
Shaq's feet cause his problems.
A lot of little bones in them, and they're huge, and like they just fucking a lot of weight on them all the time, and like they just get fucking weird. Like they just get weird. Yao just started fucking breaking bones in his feet, like random little bones, because they're just like he had to take he's jumping at 7'5". Most 7'5" dudes are like in wheelchairs by like 25. Like they're not healthy people. And like because professional sport,
look at
nuts.
You look at somebody like Andre the Giant, wrestler, actor, freak of nature, big dude.
Yeah,
all around great guy. By all reports, just a big fucking teddy bear. But he died at a young age because of how big he was. Like, when you look at
big breeds of dogs, almost
when he would hold a regular size can. It looked like it looked like it was two hands on it. It looked like it was just dwarfed. Like it was one of those cans you got in the hospital where it was like 4 ounces of soda.
I've told you when I met Ndamukong Suh, I shook his hand. And his pointer finger, I'm not joking you, touched the middle of my forearm when he shook my hand. And I was like, oh God. There was like two thoughts. There was like, hi, and please don't kill me. Like, I know that you could kill me with like just a backhand, probably. Like you could just lift me off the ground, just sweep me aside. And it was like, and he's only 6'4", what, 300 pounds. Like he's a gigantic individual, by the way.
Big motherfucker. Yeah.
Huge and very, very strong. But like these guys are gigantic. Like that 7'2" is ridiculous, dude. That's just, you can't stretch out like that. And he just stretched. And like, I think it almost has to be a pituitary issue. If you're over 7'3", you have to almost have something wrong with your growth plates. Like there almost has to be an actual, almost a syndrome or some kind of medical condition.
That's essentially what it is. I don't know if there's a name for it, but it's just like when you have somebody that isn't growing like they should, like the average person does, and they end up sub 5 foot or, sub 4'9", and you start talking about things like dwarfism and stuff like that. There's going to be another end of the spectrum for that. That's the way it is. There's balance in nature and all things. So that's going to exist.
I mean, it's good to not be bigger as a human. Historically, if you want to live for a longer period of time, it's good to not be bigger.
That big, right?
I mean, my grandmother was all of 5'1", and she lived to be 97. I mean, like you see a lot of like women who are smaller, 5'1", and 4'8" to 5'1", who live to be in their 90s. It's like the most common because they don't their organs don't have to, there's no like they're for longevity. They're not for like, strength and kind of giving out any kind of force. And that's kind of and usually the ones that give out force are going to give out the force and they're going to beat their bodies up a little bit. So that's kind of what happens. But it's just it's not conducive to living a long time or staying healthy for a long time. It's not.
Right.
George Mirjan, Sean Bradley.
It's very, very hard to do.
Tallest guy of all time, Tony. How tall?
Yeah.
You know how tall he was? His name was Robert Ludlow.
Was he like 7'9" or something like that?
8'11".
Good God.
His name was Robert Ludlow. Look it up. Died at 19 years old. He was 8'11". Had a pituitary issue. He wore like a size 33 shoe or something like that. His shoe is still on. There's a whole museum dedicated to him in Indiana. He was born in Indiana, lived his whole life in Indiana. But he was at the age of like, what was it, 12? He was 7'1" or something like that at like 12. 7'1".
I would feel bad for somebody like that. Like just to have your issues that visible and that many people talking about it. Like
he became a sideshow.
That's exactly what happens. And that's got to be straining on the mental health of somebody like that. And, it's unfortunate that he passed at 19. But I mean, you look at so many of these guys that get to that height, and like most people here today, you see somebody that's 6'5" or up. Were you in the NBA? What position did you play in basketball in high school? Like, it's just automatically assumed.
Right. Sports. Yeah. I guarantee if you just look at a picture of Robert Ludlow, he looks a lot like Yao Ming. Like body build looks a lot like Yao Ming. Like it's just kind of squared out, like rectangular version. Dude could not play a lick of sports. I guarantee you probably couldn't walk further than like a little while without being in pain. Honestly, like the dude was so huge. His parents were like 5'8" and 5'3". Yeah, he just had a pituitary issue. I think that's got to be what it is at some point. Almost. I think it's a medical condition. Unless you're Dirk. Dirk's mom is 6'8". So
right there are some genetic things like, and especially like with European, like there's some tall ass women over there, tall ass men, and so they'll make tall ass babies. That's just, it happens.
That's natural.
That's genetics. But somebody where your mom is 5'3", your dad's 5'8", you end up 8'11". That's rough.
Not a good thing. He had foot issues as well. So apparently, obviously all the bones in the foot, and when it's this big, Tony,
it's imagine trying to drive a semi truck on tires meant for a sedan.
Yeah. Just every painful mile, you're blowing out something. There's not, it can't be, and I don't know
it's not sustainable.
Well, your growth plates are growing and everything's growing, but I don't know if your muscles and everything are growing. They definitely aren't. They're not growing.
And that's the thing, is because it takes time. I mean, like, because you and I know, like, I can't just go to the gym today and come home tonight with a six pack. It takes time for that muscle to build and develop. And when you're growing like that, your body is not getting time for that stuff to develop the way that it should. Your tendons, your muscles, your ligaments, none of that stuff is growing and developing how it should with a normal progression of a person. And so you're more susceptible to injury. It's just like we talked about, who's that baseball player that overdid it on the steroids and like snapped his
David Boston. David
Boston, yeah.
Most wide receiver for the San Diego Chargers. Went to Ohio State. He was kind of dabbling with it at Ohio State. And then his tendons weren't growing with his muscle. So like HGH doesn't make your tendons grow. Like it makes organs and everything more what's the word?
Efficient.
Well, it's just everything like that's not a bone or a tendon. Like, so like just muscles and like your organs and everything, like your brain, like your head gets bigger and shit, like wider and stuff, but like your skull doesn't grow technically, you know? So like, it's right. Like, it's hard. And like, you can't be 6'3", 270 running a 4.2.
No.
David Boston he was running like a 4.2. He ran like a 4.27 at 270 pounds. Like that's not realistic at that point.
No,
like
it's not.
You can't run wide receiver routes at 270 pounds with all that muscle packed on you. Like him.
At most, you should be in the slot, but realistically, at that size, that's why you should be like a linebacker or a lineman.
Fucking dude,
you shouldn't be putting that much stress on your line.
No, and you can't be that fast. You can't be that fast. You can't be making those kind of cuts. And dude signed autographs for the Chargers like his rookie year, and he looks like fucking Flex Wheeler. It was like fucking literally. I can't believe that he can even get his hands to the autograph because his fucking biceps are so huge. And he was doing like drips and everything. That was before HGH was illegal in the NFL, so he was doing it completely legally. Just telling people he was doing it. He was like, yeah. I get like glucosamine drips and shit in between practices, and like they were replacing all of his nutrients and everything, and like just bad stuff. Like that's a bad example. It's used inappropriately.
Yeah, that thankfully that is not allowed and should not be allowed. But again, metered doses under the care of a doctor and personal trainers that are talking you through how to do it the way that it should be for the product to be effective.
Or Tony, outside of professional sports, you and me just go down to the corner store, get some Testofen, and maybe we shoot into each other's butts. I mean, that's honestly, and then we just go. We don't have to fucking even work out. We can just go shoot some fucking stop signs. Honestly, I could just go shoot some stop signs.
No, that's not okay.
We'll jog to and from the car, and then
that helps. No, it's still not okay.
We'll just be jacked swole.
Here's what we do.
Angry all the time.
Here's what we do. We start taking HGH. We go out in the middle of a field, and we just set up stacks of wood. And we just set up a camera, and we just stream. We just chop wood all day. All day. Every once in a while, we have to go run for like 5 minutes to get a little cardio in.
Right.
Come back, drink a shake, go back, just...
Interesting you say that. I actually have 5 hours of footage on my phone right now. Me just doing it. That's all I was doing. I actually built a shed. I just built a shed and then not built a shed. I'm gonna go knock it down tomorrow. It's gonna be the video tomorrow. It's gonna be me just juicing and then just knocking sheds down. That's what I'm doing.
Oh God. Oh, you're such a horrible person. Okay.
I gotta shave my back twice a day. Yeah.
You have more hair on your back than you do on your head, Dan, and that's
today. I shaved straight razor yesterday. This is all.
Oh, really? You see, yeah. So you can grow it on your face and on your back. You just can't get shit on your head.
Yes, it goes away from there. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I can grow on my head without a problem, but my beard is as patchy as the pirate on SpongeBob.
Oh.
Okay. All right, buddy. I want
Oh.
to eat some dinner. And we have been going for just over 2 hours now.
My nipples have gotten huge, Tony.
So we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Before we do, though, any final thoughts tonight, bud?
Oh, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger. Let me tell you about that fucking rapist. God damn him and his Steelers glory.
Yeah. Oh, really quick. You know what? I want to get your take on this because you haven't really had a chance to talk about. What do you think? What do you think about? I want to give you a chance to state your opinion on the Pat Bev THT trade by the Lakers and the Jazz.
You know what? I'm glad to get rid of Taylor Horton Tucker. That's what I got out of it. Like I was like, so many people were like all over like acquiring Pat Beverly and what that does to the dynamic of the Lakers. If you guys haven't noticed, the dynamic of the Los Angeles Lakers a little bit fucked already. I don't think there's anything to do to like make it any worse. Like what can you do? Like what? Like you have Russell already there. So like the only thing they could have done was like trade it for Russell Westbrook, and he's already there. So like the next choice is like you just trade for fucking Pat Beverly. Like that's what you do.
Is Pat Beverly really going to make? Because like even he said earlier this year after the season ended that if he was on that roster, they would have been a conference finals team. And I don't believe that because one of the concerns at the start of last season with Russ going to the Lakers was the relationship between Russ and LeBron. Clearly that didn't, they always like, oh, we've got it. It's fine. That was just on the court because we were against each other. Clearly it's still not there. Now you're going to add in Pat Beverly, who has talked so much shit about Russell Westbrook. And Pat Beverly, with the role that he typically plays with a team, he's going to be the one saying, no, you're out of position. You need to go over here. He's the defensive leader. And he knows defense. He is a 3-and-D kind of guy. But you can't tell me with how much of an ego Russ has, especially after everything that happened last year and the fucking nightmare that he's going to be this year, trying to prove that he's not that guy that he was exposed as, that he's been the entire fucking time. You can't tell me that this isn't going to make that dynamic that much fucking worse because Russell Westbrook now has two guys that have talked shit about him that are on the same team as him.
I have a soft spot for Pat Bev because he's the exact same thing that I was as a basketball player. And it's just a terrible basketball player. Like it's just a terrible basketball player who should have just stuck to playing football or a different sport. And
I think he will be great in broadcasting. I think he does know the game. I don't think he's a great basketball player.
In people's heads and just foul everybody because that's the way that he plays. And he's going to disrupt. He's more of a disruptor than he is anything. Right. He's not even a good defender, Tony. He's not. He's a defender. He's 6'3", for one. He's 6'3", which already puts him at a disadvantage immediately. He's a terrible defender. He just fouls everybody and pisses people off and gets in their head. He's like a 6'3" Draymond Green. Like that's literally what he does. That's all Draymond.
I was gonna say Marcus Smart, but I mean you're right there.
Marcus Smart.
Or not Marcus Smart, no.
Marcus Smart shoot. Morrises. The Morrises are
the Morrises,
basketball players though. Like I want Pat Bev on the show. I would love to have Pat Bev on the show. I think he's probably an absolute bomb of a guy to hang out with. But like,
oh yeah, I would love, yeah, absolutely.
But honestly, he would fucking yell in my face because I'd be like, Pat Bev, I don't think you're a good basketball player at all, bro. I think you've done everything that you've done in your career out of pure being a fucking dog. Like you're just a dog, and I love it. It's just pure fucking determination.
His game is definitely more mental than and I think some of it comes from, he does know so much about what he's doing. And I'm not going to take away. There are few people when Pat Bev is on the court that I can look at and say, this person has more game knowledge than Pat Bev.
He's going to be on the court with one of them.
Exactly. And he's going to be on the court with one of them. And the other one, he's going to face a few times throughout the year, and that he's called a cone, Chris Paul.
If Pat Bev comes on the show, I want him to watch this part. And I'm gonna say, Pat Bev, watch how quick you shut the fuck up when you get on a court with LeBron James. Watch how quick that mouth just tends to fade into the distance when LeBron tells you to do something, because it will happen.
So the video that I thought it was interesting. So I was talking about, he did that article or or that interview that he was in earlier this year, where he talked about if he was on the Lakers, that squad would have been a Western Conference Finals team.
How?
And he even said, and hold on, let me quote this before you start to wrap your head around how stupid it was, because it gets worse.
I know.
He says that nobody was there to tell LeBron that he was basically, I'm paraphrasing. Nobody was there to tell LeBron that he was out of position, and he is the right person to do that. What? I'm not doubting his game knowledge.
I know where he's coming from.
And right, but commenting on LeBron James' defense now versus what it was 5 years ago is probably one of the dumbest topics you could take, because 5 years ago he was a lot younger and D was more of his responsibility. In basketball, your more veteran guys aren't as focused on D. That's a younger man's responsibility.
He needs to be, and LeBron needs to be, what he was saying, and I think he's right, is that LeBron needs to be checked sometimes on defense. LeBron needs to be encouraged to play defense by somebody. Anthony Davis ain't going to do it. Anthony Davis is too busy trying to date LeBron. He can't be getting mad at him.
No.
And Russell Westbrook's just trying to run the fast break when he's on defense. He's trying to run the fast break. He's trying to get out there on the break. Russ is trying to go pull up for a mid-range jumper 2-on-1.
He's going to miss.
If you got one of your star players trying to date you and the other one's trying to pull up for a 2-on-1 jumper on the other end, you don't really get held too responsible for your defense. So, like, I get what he's saying. He's saying, like, I would have held him responsible. I'd have yelled at him and shit. He would have, and LeBron honestly probably would have taken it.
I think Pat Bev's one of the few guys that he would take it from because of his game knowledge and his respect. Yeah.
You have to respect him. He plays in the NBA at 6'3", and he's terrible at basketball. Like, how do you not respect the guy? Like, how has he made it this long? Like, I said that to his face. I mean, like, dude, you're a fucking amazing. You're amazing. How have you made it that way?
Okay. We would like to clarify. We acknowledge that we are saying that he is terrible, despite the fact that he is terrible, or that he is better. He is better at basketball than we could ever dream of being.
Comparatively to the NBA players.
Comparatively to other NBA players, yes, he's terrible.
He's not good at basketball.
No.
He's not good at anything, really, besides, like, working hard and being a dog. That's it.
He's a disruptor. Like you said, he's a disruptor.
And it's for living.
It is an important piece, but like you said, the other disruptors, Draymond Green, the Morris brothers, they have more basketball talent than Pat Bev does.
They have a bigger skill set. Quite clearly. I think Pat Beverly would admit that to us. I think he would literally.
I don't know.
Think he might, dude. I think he might honestly go, all right, well, yeah, I mean, I'll give you, like, you don't think he's going to say that Marcus Smart clearly has a better skill set than Pat Beverly.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart can shoot, though.
No, he does.
Marcus Smart can shoot. Marcus Smart can fucking shoot, dude. Like, I think that Pat Beverly's never been able to shoot. How the fuck is he still in the NBA? I love it, though. Like, that's so respectable. Like, I think that's why guys respect him. Like, how are you still here? Like, how do you still do this? And it's because he works his fucking ass off, and he's a dog. And, like, I love, if we can get him on, if he helps, good.
He's definitely one of those where his presence is more about the locker room and what he's doing on the mental side of the game on the court, helping direct traffic, because Russell Westbrook, as your one, which is how they have to run it in LA for it to fucking work. Russell Westbrook is one. He's not directing traffic. He's not telling people where to go. He's just like that. That's, I mean, LeBron does it to a point, but I do appreciate what he said about, talking about directing traffic, because that is something that they need. And I think that it can make a difference. But with the problems that they have and the liability defensively, right? The problems that they have and the liability that they have with Russell Westbrook and his shooting and his bad shooting, I think they should have. I mean, honestly, they would be better. They would be far better off if they grabbed Markieff Morris or Marcus Smart
Well, they had Marquis. I mean, they had Marquis for a second last year. The Lakers did.
No.
Marcus. They had Marcus Morris. Anyhow, my final thought is the Los Angeles Lakers at this point are just a microcosm of America. In that they're just a shit show that none of us are going to do anything about. We're just going to sit back and watch this fucking Hindenburg of a fucking NBA team just float for a second, explode, and then, I don't know, fall to the ground. And if they make it, then great. We'll be like, hey, they made it.
Marcus Morris, by the way, Marcus Morris was on the Clippers, not the Lakers.
When was Marcus Morris on one of the Morris brothers was on the Lakers last year? It was Markieff, like I said.
No, because Markieff was the one that got laid out and missed 35 games. Or was that? Yeah, that was okay. Hold on.
I think it was Markieff. It wasn't Marcus, because Marcus was in.
Oh, Markieff was on the Lakers in 2020. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So not
because Markieff was on the Heat last year. Because like I said, he got injured.
Good play. I mean, good player. Didn't tell LeBron shit. I mean, he didn't tell LeBron shit. Just like Pat Bev is not going to tell LeBron shit.
No.
At this point, hey.
But it was also his first year. So.
Also, final thought: the New York Yankees in the top of the 7th inning,
I saw that
the Oakland A's 13-1.
It was 10-0.
Right. Hey, you can always get right against the Oakland A's. Whenever you're losing a couple of games, just play the Oakland A's.
I've got a new hope now with how bad the Red Sox season has gone, and this is my final thought. Chaim Bloom is about to end his 3rd season as GM, and 2 of those seasons he will have finished bottom of the league, despite having a stellar roster at the start of the season.
And having all that Boston fucking just mantra behind you and like the Red Sox and oh God.
I don't think
I could go there and win 80 games.
I don't think Chaim Bloom is the in charge of the front office in Boston when the season starts in March.
I think he might be the Deverance. The Deverance? See what I did there? He might be the Deverance in that keeping them from Bogart in that thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know.
Fuck
I don't
you.
know what I'm doing anymore.
Okay. All right, man. It was a pleasure as always to get to do this with you. I appreciate doing it every week. For those of you that are watching live, thank you for joining us. Please like and share our content. You can join the Sports Report and Sports Report After Dark groups on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. If you are listening to this after on Spotify or the other various platforms, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Know you're supporting us. Tell your friends. We'll see you next week, Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern on the channel that you're watching it on now.
Free Fernando Tatis. You deserve.
Thank you and everybody, and have a good night.
Sexy son of a bitch. Free Fernando.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go.